This hour by Frederick Remington, fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. Exclusive, no refrigeration, 10-year extended shelf life bacon. The thickest, meatiest center cut bacon in the industry at fullycookedbacon.com.
Perpetually standing in the breach and always ready to stay in the fight. Coming to you from an undisclosed broadcast location. Presented by AR-500 Armor. The Armored Republic cometh. This is Lock and Load with Bill Frady.
That probably went out. Hour number 2, coming to you live from the AR-500 Armor Radio studio. This is Lock and Load. Red flags. That's the subject this hour. Joining me to discuss that, I know that we have Dan Wos, author, commentator. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Bill. How are you?
I don't know if we have Jan yet, though. Okay, we're trying to call Jan back.
Okay, I know she's ready to go.
So this is all, and interestingly enough, where the governor is starting to look at these is puzzling for me. But we will wait for Jan to come on board with us. Have you driven any interesting Corvettes lately?
Well, not interesting. Okay. I mean, I drive a lot of them, and they're all very, very cool. I don't think I've driven a Corvette that I didn't like. I have a 2000 Corvette that's got some pretty good kick to it.
Yeah?
It'll give you whiplash.
Cool. I like whiplash when it's induced by
give you whiplash.
There she is. Is that her? Is that Jan?
Well, yep. Who else? This woman has a B-ride motorcycle and has done a gun show. I mean, that would be me.
And joining us now is Jan Morgan. Good evening, young lady.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm just trying to cope, just doing a radio show here.
Trying to cope. Yeah, aren't we all? It's a fight every day.
Every day. So you guys are up in arms about the red flag orders coming out of Arkansas, of all places, where they have armed Christian schools in Arkansas. They have
armed Christian schools. We actually have some public schools where our teachers are armed. In fact, our United States Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, just visited the school district right here in my town in Hot Springs.
Right.
To study as a possible model for other public schools around America, because for 25 years, this public school district has allowed teachers to carry guns on campus. And in all those years, they've never had any teachers get mad and shoot students. They've never had any negligent discharges. None of the horrible Wild West scenarios that anti-gun people predict will happen if we allow teachers to carry guns on campus. None of that has happened. So, I'm excited about what the Attorney General may do as a result of visiting our school district here. But it's funny that you brought that up, because the superintendent of schools just left my shooting range, which is where I am now. I'm at the gun cave. He just left. He came into target practice. And, a lot of his teachers practice out here as well and have been through our training program. So it's pretty cool to know that our kids, at least in one school district here, are safe as they could possibly be.
Well, I mean, I read about a Christian school in Arkansas that actually put the signage up saying, if you try to come into the school, we're going to blow you away, or something to those effects. And
well, I mean, not exactly in those terms, but yes, all of
I may have been paraphrasing a little bit.
Said. But for a public school to do that, that's a huge deal, as you know.
It is.
It is. So, because, of course, there was a little bit of a protest when the Attorney General came. There were people here who, parents who don't like the fact that school teachers are armed, but it was a minimal protest, and for the most part, a majority of the parents in that school, as well as the kids, appreciate the fact. In fact, when they had the anniversary, and all the students walked out in protest for the Parkland students, that 17 minutes of protest, the school district here, there were less than 100 students that actually participated in that, and majority of those said they were actually not protesting guns. They were simply there to honor the students and the teachers who died in that massacre, that it had nothing to do with guns. So, I think the teenagers in the South, or Deep South, in our area at least, are much different than the teenagers that were really irate in Florida.
Very likely. So, but the confusion I have is that Arkansas is sort of an early adopter when it comes to this very good step when it comes to actually protecting students in a school, to be out there and considering. But then again, I know people like Ben Shapiro and David French and a bunch of other pundits who I don't think really understand the full weight of what they're talking about. They look at this favorably because they're not doing the math, but I mean, I look at this, the red flag order as Minority Report. The little wooden ball that comes down the hamster tunnel and drops down, and Tom Cruise watches while somebody's name gets scraped down on it, and then you get arrested for thinking about it, which is essentially what this is, right?
It actually, it's not even a slippery slope. Originally, when I posted about it today, I said, this is a slippery slope that we don't need to be going down. And someone, a libertarian friend of mine, corrected me on social media, and he said, Jan, this is not a slippery slope. This is a direct hit on the Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, and Fifth Amendment. And he's exactly right. We obviously, it's a Second Amendment hit. The Fifth Amendment is our due process amendment. And then the Fourth Amendment right that says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, in their houses, their papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. That shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue. So the thing is, my concern is, who gets to decide what is and is not mentally stable? Are we going to put this in the hands of psychologists who may be anti-gun radicals who really think that America would be better off without guns? And so you're going to turn somebody like me. Let's say that some couple of leftist people in my family say, Jan Morgan is crazy. I think that she is prone to to be violent. So we want to. She doesn't need to have any guns in her household. Well, the government's going to come in and the police are going to take my gun until I prove myself innocent. Okay, so I'm guilty until proven innocent. And then if a psychologist who doesn't like guns, the whole gun thing, can sit there and go, I haven't seen any direct outbursts of violence, but, she has a very passionate personality, which leads to the propensity for violent outbursts. And I need more time to study her at my expense, of course, my Jan Morgan's expense. And I need time to evaluate. She needs to go to counseling. So there, it is a huge issue to me on many fronts. And when you're talking about 3 separate amendments in effect here, I can't believe we're even discussing this. We already have mental health laws. We already have gun laws that are supposed to keep guns out of the hands of mentally ill people. And if you're so sick in the head that people in your family think that you don't need to have guns, then you need to be institutionalized until you are well. Right? Or you need to go get treatment until you're well. But family members need to take that on and not put that in the hands of police who don't know you and have to make that decision. And once again, I don't want to have to prove that I'm not crazy.
And here's the thing with New York, and I don't know if Jan, this kind of tails off what Jan's saying. In New York, our lovely Governor Cuomo is pushing this extreme risk protection order, the red flag. But what it is here in New York is that they're really focused on the school officials. And they call a school official anybody who is certified, and that means practically everyone except the lunch lady. I mean, certified is school assistant teachers, substitutes. These people could actually decide that you're a risk, under their terms of what they believe is a risk, and now you are getting your guns confiscated. In New York, in the bill, it says that they will have a court date for you within 3 to 6 days. That means you have about 2 days to find a lawyer and start proving yourself innocent. It's absolutely ridiculous.
But what if they decide your teenage kid is mentally ill? As we know, in a number of these school shootings, almost every one of them, the teenager who committed the crime was either on or coming off of psychotropic drugs. So there's already an indication that there are some mental health issues. So what are we going to do? Start confiscating the guns of the parents who this kid lives in the household with?
Well, that's the idea.
Where do you draw the line?
That's exactly the idea, because if the kid, is deemed a danger, then that would affect the parents' guns. Yeah, I'm sure. I just think that we're having the wrong discussion, and I tried to talk about this on CNN the other day when I was debating an anti-gun radical.
I tell you what, before you start discussing it, we're coming up on the break. Tell them how they can find you, Jan. How can they find Jan Morgan?
Facebook is the best place to find me. I have several pages. They're all verified pages, so look for Jan Morgan with the blue check mark by the name. And one of them has 245,000 people on it. That's the one you want to hang out on because that's where all the great gun discussions take place.
All the fun, anyway. Mm-hmm. And Dan Wos, of course, Dan shows up here on a regular basis, author of Good Gun, Bad Guy. We'll be right back to continue this discussion with the legend and Jan. This is Lock and Load. designed by a U.S. Army sergeant. After a deployment in Iraq, this is Sheath underwear. Sheath is a high-performance, high-functioning underwear, segmented where it counts, reducing irritation and chafing. At home, in the car, on the field, in competition, or in combat, Sheath underwear keeps you cool and allows you to focus on the task at hand. Sheath underwear is dedicated to health, fitness, and style. SheathUnderwear.com. It will change the quality of your day-to-day life. What's in a name? If that name is Ace Firearms, you've just entered a very expensive business. First, a fully appointed gun shop with all the guns, ammo, and accessories you could possibly imagine. But then you enter the manufacturing facility that is home to Red Alligator Concealment, Militia Arms Customs, and so much more. Ace Firearms is beyond a simple gun shop. This is a totally peerless operation. To find out more, go to acefirearms.com. Ace Firearms. This is only the beginning.
Most of you know that heart disease is the #1 silent killer in the U.S. What if I told you for just $54.95 a month you could fight against heart disease naturally? At Heart and Body Extract, we've been helping thousands of people get back to a healthier heart. Don't just take my word for it. Check out all of the success stories at hbextract.com. Or to order, call 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. hbextract.com. Don't risk it when you can take charge of it.
Pro Pure Gravity Water Filters. Most tested, most trusted. The Pro 1 G2.0 all-in-one filter by Pro Pure removes and reduces up to 200 plus contaminants, including fluoride, lead, and more. There's no priming required, no add-on filter needed for fluoride reduction, and it's totally reusable. There's a size to fit most competitive brands of gravity water filter systems. Pro Pure Water Filters. When you don't know what's in your water, visit an authorized Pro Pure dealer or ProPureUSA.com.
I'm David Hall, founder of Diamond Gusset, where we're proud of our 100% grown and sewn American-made jeans. Whether you're out for dinner, working on the farm, or on the road, Diamond Gusset Jeans offers a full spectrum of styles and sizes for any occasion. To find yours, visit gusset.com. That's GUSSET.com. Our loyal customers enable us to continue sponsoring Liberty media outlets like the one you're listening to. In Liberty, David Hall, Diamond Gusset Jean Company.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
If you're young and healthy, you don't need life insurance, right? Yeah, that's what I used to think too, until my brother died at 38. Joe left his wife with 2 kids, a mortgage, and a stack of bills she couldn't pay. Mary had to sell the house and move everybody into this tiny 2-bedroom apartment just to make ends meet. I never want to do that to my wife, so I got life insurance. I called AIG Direct and was really surprised how affordable it is. Just $14 a month for $250,000 of term life coverage. Listen, if you have a family, you should seriously think about getting life insurance. You'll feel a lot better having it. Trust me.
Call AIG Direct for a free, no-obligation quote. The call takes less than 5 minutes, and you could save up to 70%. Call now. 1-800-910-7981. That's 1-800-910-7981. 1-800-910-7981.
Healthcare reform is confusing, but whether it's finding an affordable insurance plan, keeping your doctor, or being able to afford needed prescriptions, navigating the healthcare system has become a challenge. Control your own healthcare costs and choices with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is not insurance. It is an association of self-pay patients who unite with like-minded people to share the cost of each other's medical needs. Neighbor helping neighbor. Learn more now by going to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
From the AR 500 Armor Radio Studio, this is Lock and Load. I am talking to Dan Wos and Jan Morgan, and we're talking about a lot of things, but this is kicking off with the red flag orders that they're now considering in both New York City, or New York State, where Dan lives, and Arkansas, where Jan is from. And Jan, when I didn't refer to you as a legend, that's anybody that's seen you on television knows better. Because I watch.
Cover your steps now. That's okay. Hey, you know what? Actually, when you look at it, there are a number of states. I think there are 14 states now that are looking at this red flag law possibility, that are considering it. You got 14 states where governors are saying, maybe we're going to do this. And that's why it's even a bigger national story. Regardless of what state you're in, if your state isn't already on that list of 14 that's considering it, it could be happening very soon.
Well, in Florida, where they just instituted it, they've gone after a bunch of people that don't own guns.
Right.
And I would think this would also be a 14th Amendment case as well, because you're not getting equal protection under the law, because now somebody can just point you out. And it's almost like having a Stasi in your backyard now.
Exactly.
Well, you know what's going to happen next is the politically biased teachers are going to start accusing people based on political beliefs, and that's the scary part right there, because now this will turn into a political battle, and people, gun owners will be hung up in court trying to defend themselves and prove their innocence. That's the terrible part of this whole thing.
Another thing that concerns me, Dan, is that I've seen several articles where it said that the National Rifle Association was actually willing to look at this with the understanding that as long as the person has due process, as if that's the only amendment that's at risk here. And I'm really concerned about that. I hope the NRA will back up a little bit and say, wait a minute, this is not, we can't concede here. This is just, we don't need to go here. And in fact, the NRA jumped on President Trump. Remember during that meeting, that famous meeting where the president said, and I love Trump, I absolutely love him, but sometimes he just says things I wish he wouldn't say, and I wish he would, do a little thinking about beforehand. But he actually talked about, well, we just need to do this, and there went our due process. And so, the president was talking today in a meeting about the fact that we need to address mental health concerns in America. And I'm hoping that that's the direction he's going to go, and that's the direction we want to go. But the mental health issue has nothing to do with the gun issue, because you know as well as I do, mentally ill person who is intent on murdering groups of people can, if you take his guns and he's intent on murdering, unless you put him away, he can use a car to murder mass numbers of people. He can build an explosive bomb. I mean, there are so many ways. He can poison people. And that, where do you draw the line? I mean, I just think there's a reason our founding fathers gave us these amendments, because they've already been through all this. They've already been through all this, and they know what was coming down the pike, and they tried to spare us by saying these are the things you need to institute to truly have a free country. And here we are just trampling all over them.
And these red flag laws that they're trying to pass are anything but due process. That's the idea. So anytime any of these politicians say, well, we want to do this with due process, well, the minute you determine someone is a danger and you take away their guns and let them prove themselves innocent first, well, that takes away due process. So I don't know how that they're ever going to do any of this stuff that they want to do with due process. Due process just seems to be one of their buzzwords.
Well, here's the bottom line. When I was on CNN the other day, and they finally came to the point where the anchor was trying to debate me and the anti-gun radical was debating me, because neither of them was winning, because every argument they had was emotion-based, she finally just said, Allison Camerati just said, look, Jan, okay, so what is your solution to mass murders? What do you think we need to do if it's not guns? I said, well, it's not guns. It's not guns. I said, if you really want to know, I can tell you what we need to do. There are two things. We need to eliminate gun-free zones, number one, so that law-abiding citizens can be armed. But number two, we need to have a conversation that no one wants to have, and that is the conversation about psychotropic drugs, because we are putting... There are kids in our country, you're going to be amazed if you look at the numbers, the statistics of 2-year-olds. Think about this, Dan. 2-year-olds being prescribed antidepressants.
I know, it's sick.
What does a 2-year-old have to be depressed about? Parents are putting their kids on psychotropic drugs because they don't want to parent. They don't want to discipline. It's the easy way out. And that you put teenagers and young people on drugs for years and years, there is going to be a side effect to that. And yes, I do understand that some kids and some people actually really do need them, and it has nothing to do with discipline, but it's become a way of dealing with unruly children who have not had proper parenting. And no one wants to talk about psychotropic drugs, and legislators don't want to talk about it because lobbyists are in the back pockets of Big Pharma, and Big Pharma certainly doesn't want to talk about it because they're making all this money. So that's the hush-hush conversation. It's the big white elephant in the room that everyone wants to ignore and blame these little tools that we call guns.
Exactly. And, as soon as you mention psychotropic drugs, she roadblocked you like crazy. And like I said, if people want to go back and watch that video, they should, because you did a fantastic job. It was so great to watch you, especially when you called them out, you called their names, and you took that conversation with authority. They didn't like that very much. But as soon as you started talking about psychotropic drugs, she roadblocked you because she's guarding the narrative. They did not want you to start talking about the real causes of human violence. They want this to be about guns, and they want to continue to make sure that it's gun violence.
Which is why I love your book. That's why I love your two books, because we have got to figure out a way to change the narrative to talk to some of these people we'll never be able to convince. But there are people on the line, which is the reason I went into enemy territory on CNN. You know, I did not want to go on CNN. I've done that twice now, but because I called you as well. It's like, do I really have to do this? And you and some of my friends at NRA TV said, Jen, we have to go there. You have to go there, because people that watch that network religiously, you may be the only truth they ever hear, even if you just get out a sentence or two. So,
yeah.
Because let's face it, those anti-gun radicals are not listening to Lock and Load radio.
Well, that's true. And you know what? They call it gun violence, but really, we think about it, and it's human violence. It has nothing to do with the gun, because in London, violence just exceeded New York City, and they don't have guns. They use knives. This is not about gun violence. Really,
well, I mean,
and another thing is not even about guns. It's about politics. It's about left versus right. But they want to always make it about the gun because it's part of their Democrat agenda. I mean, we all know that.
Well, I brought up Paris Grant to Alex Camarada.
Hang on right there. We're coming up on the next break. Okay. So what I want, Dan, tell everybody how to find the book, how to find you.
goodgunbadguy.net or goodgunbadguy.com.
Jan, how do people find you?
Jan Morgan on Facebook and on Twitter. Verified page.
Yes. So when we get back, and I think I saw that part where you were bringing it up about England and everything. I want to ask you when we get back about the futility of engaging them, because I've done this with radio hosts that are leftists too, and it's sort of fun. It's sort of like a sport. It's like train spotting sometimes.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I also want to talk to, I want you two guys to talk about still more about this red flag thing and why this is being considered. That's important, especially coming out of Arkansas. But anyway, I'm talking to Jan Morgan and to Dan Wos, and we're talking about Arkansas, the anti-gunners and the leftists, and it's a target-rich environment. We'll be right back. This is Lock and Load. Today, weapons and optics are built tough, but they have to remain dialed in. Enter Air Armor Tech. Created to protect the $500,000 helmet of the F-35 Lightning II aircraft, Air Armor Tech can likewise protect your weapons during transport. Under pressure, air is uncompromising, rigid or collapsible using the power of inflation or deflation, high-tech and elemental. To learn more, go to airarmortech.com. Air Armor Tech. Protective, lightweight. These are military-grade inflatable cases. At Spikes Tactical, we are all shooters with a very simple mission. Make the best product we can perfect at the best possible price for our consumers. We strive to produce the best components and rifles available, with quality control second to none, because real-world events don't allow for a second chance. Whether you are an operator, competitor, or home defender, Spikes Tactical will serve you well. Go to spikestactical.com. Spikes Tactical, 100% American-made to the highest standard.
USA Radio News.
A Colorado man faces 3 counts of murder after his pregnant wife and 2 young daughters disappeared earlier this week. Chris Watts was taken into custody Wednesday and was charged with the 3 murders today. Colorado Bureau of Investigation Director John Camper spoke earlier today at a news conference.
At this point, we have been able to recover a body that we're quite certain is Shanann Watts' body. We have strong reason to believe that we know where the bodies of the children are, and recovery efforts are in process on that.
Music legend Aretha Franklin passed away today at the age of 76 years old. She was suffering from pancreatic cancer. Sarah Dash is a member of LaBelle and says how people should remember Franklin.
As a child of God, as one who had the best voice ever in the world, she reigned in her vocal ability.
You're listening to USA Radio News.
What's on your bucket list? Running a marathon, hiking to the top of a mountain, or maybe surfing? What if I told you can accomplish all of it at any age? This is Wayne Allen Root, and I'd like to introduce you to somebody that's changed my life, made me feel years younger, maybe saved my life, my Cenegenics physician, Dr. Bob Letta.
Thanks for the introduction, Wayne. At Cenegenics, we help people look and feel many years younger. We've been in business since 1997. We have locations across the United States, and we've treated over 35,000 patients worldwide. Our age management medicine is proven to work. On the Cenegenics program, you will have your own doctor, exercise counselor, and nutritionist all working together to fine-tune plans especially for you.
Thank you, Dr. Letta. I'm 57 and I feel like I'm 30 again. I feel the best of my life. I have the most energy of my life. Are you ready to start feeling the best of your life? Defy your age with Cenegenics. Call now for your free consultation at 888-YOUNGER. That's toll-free 888-YOUNGER. Or go to Cenegenics.com.
Non-attorney paid spokesperson. Could your house go into foreclosure? Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Does it seem like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home? And you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. 800-667-9035. That's 800-667-9035.
To you live from the AR 500 Armor Radio Studio. This is Lock and Load. I'm talking to Jan Morgan and Dan Wos. We're talking about red flag orders. We're talking about leftist shenanigans, all this nonsense. Why? I know why Cuomo's doing it, because he's Cuomo, megalomaniac that he is. Jan, I'm very confused about Arkansas. Why? I mean, who's?
Yeah, well, join the crowd. I'm not confused because I ran for governor against the guy who is considering this red flag law in our state. And one of the reasons I ran and one of the reasons he and I butted heads is because of a number of issues. We have constitutional carry in this state, and even though he's a Republican, he has made the statement that yes, Arkansas is a constitutional carry state, but that's not inconsistent with a licensing requirement to conceal carry. And even then, you should still check with the prosecuting attorney in each different county because it's subject to interpretation. Well, you know, he doesn't understand the definition of constitutional carry. That means you can carry with or without, open or concealed, without a license. That's what constitutional carry is. So he doesn't really understand it. And no, my gun rights aren't subject to prosecutorial, discernment of what the law is. Yeah, of what the law is. And even if you don't even look at the Second Amendment, the Article 2 of our own state constitution says that the people of the state have the right to keep and bear arms, okay, and that any effort to registrate or restrict is inviolate. I mean, how much more clear can you get? So we finally, after 2 years of pushing, we finally forced the Attorney General in this state to admit to the people that, yes, we have constitutional carry, and yes, you do not have to have a permit or a license to conceal carry. So with that being said, it took us 2 years to force that to be announced. But we have a governor who wants to campaign on the Second Amendment. He wants to tell people he's a Second Amendment advocate, but he's one of those, I believe in the Second Amendment, but kind of people. You know, anytime you hear that, that means that you don't really believe in the Second Amendment. You believe that that rights can be regulated and that rights can have restrictions and that they can be treated like government privileges as opposed to rights which are inalienable. So, that there's a big problem, and that's not only in Arkansas. I was surprised that our Florida governor did it. You're looking at Republican governors of all things. You expect this from Democrat governors, but not Republicans. And that is one of the issues that the reason Donald Trump won the election is because of the rhinos who have taken over the establishment end of the party nationally, and that is the same situation that we have in Arkansas with our state Republican Party. And we're working on changing that. It's going to take some time. It didn't happen overnight. It's going to take some time to get the conservative base rallied to the cause and get them fired up and back involved with the Republican Party, because we only had 18% of the voters in our state, 18%, think about this, vote in the Republican primary last month. 18%.
Let me ask
People
you a
just
question.
Don't care.
I want your opinion on this, and Dan, I want your opinion on this as well. I do some fill-in work here locally at a just regular talk radio station. So when I'm filling in on a regular conservative talk show, I find that it is easier for me to just stepping down and talk about regular conservative topics, because a lot of those are conceptual and they don't deal with a whole lot of details. Whereas somebody that's going to be very up on the Second Amendment has to be very much up on the details. And I look at a lot of these politicians and a lot of these pundits, and I see a lot of guys going, well, I support the Second Amendment. Of course I do. Yes, it's inviolate and all this other stuff. But I don't think they really understand what that means.
But you look at this guy. Our governor, Asa Hutchinson, was the NRA's poster boy for national school safety. Remember, he was the guy they were putting out on all the TV networks as their guy that's standing up for school safety programs, et cetera, until he went on CNN and a CNN anchor asked him, how do you feel about universal background checks? Could you support that? And he said, oh, well, yes, I could support that. And then the NRA had to spank him and go in and say, well, actually, he was speaking for himself, even though he was representing us, because we don't support universal background checks. So this is a guy that is a lifetime career politician, and he really just doesn't understand. But he's a lawyer, and I've confronted him. I'm not talking behind his back. I've looked him in the face and I've said, you are an attorney. You know what the Constitution is. You know what the Bill of Rights are. So either you believe them or you don't. A right is a right, not a privilege. So There is where the rub lies. But we're going to see more of this as we have establishment Republicans who really aren't what they say they are. Just because you say you're something when you're campaigning, you need to look at how a person legislates and governs to determine. And we need recall. We need recall ability in this state. We cannot recall our legislators. Once they're elected, they can start behaving however they want, and we're stuck with them for 2 or 4 years.